Hey guys, Mason here from Camp Chef. In this video, we're gonna learn how to put together the Gridiron 36. Let's go ahead and get started. So when you get your Gridiron 36, if it does come in 2 boxes, go ahead and open them both up and locate your owner's manual. Lucky for us, we found ours on the first box. Looks like it's right here on top. This is your manual right here in this Ziploc bag. This is what we're going to be referencing throughout this video. We're going to go ahead and open up our boxes and lay out all of our parts. That way we know as we're going through the assembly process where each one of our parts is, and we can easily reference that. Don't forget that there's an additional parts box underneath the hood of the actual griddle itself in the secondary box. That's going to be important to remember. That way you don't forget about those ones as well. So let's go ahead and start with laying those parts out, getting the assembly process started. Okay, now that we have all of our parts laid out, let's go ahead and start this assembly process. So for step 1, we're going to take our front right leg and one of our small magnets, and we're going to attach the magnet to the leg with these 2 nutserts in the top. It's going to be important to make sure that the 2 metal bars are sticking towards the outside of the leg, or the front of the leg rather than the inside, which is this side. So sit there just like this. For our next step, we're going to attach our propane tank bracket to the bottom leg brace. Now there's 2 of these leg braces. The one that you're going to want has the 2 nutserts right on top of the face. Next step, which is step number 3 in the assembly process, is we're going to assemble the right side of the grill. So we're going to take the bottom bracket that we just put the propane hook on, as well as our front right leg and our back right leg, as well as 2 casters, and put these all together. So I'm going to lay these down. I'm going to make sure that the corresponding holes are all on the side that's facing up, as well as the inside of the legs are facing each other. And then I'm going to put the propane tank holder going in, facing the other direction. In the number 3 bag, you should have 8 bolts and 8 lock washers. And each bolt will just get its own corresponding washer. So I'm going to set these all up and line it up. Put it in like that. And we're just going to go around this caster on all 4 sides and get those tightened down. Now that we've got our leg brace together, let's go ahead and attach it to the grill for the next step. Making sure that we're on the right side of the grill. And then there will be the corresponding bolts in the number 4 baggie that go along with this. So for this step, it's going to be important to make sure that the lock washers make it onto these bolts. And then you'll just go around the top of these legs and assemble them on. Then we're going to want to do this assembly process on both sides of this leg bracket. Okay, for our next step, you're going to want the propane deflector plate right here, as well as the corresponding bracket. You'll notice in this bracket that there's 3 slots on the top side. That is going to match up with the 3 slots on the propane deflector plate, here, here, and here. So you're going to want to match those up, put it together like that. And then we're going to come right in here on our assembly that we've done so far and drop it in and match it up. You're going to want to come from the inside, and then we're going to take the screws at a number 5 and put them in the corresponding holes here on the sides of the grill legs. After you get the deflector plate put in place, you're going to take the hardware in the number 5 bag and put it in the corresponding spots right here on the side of the legs. There should be 2 bolts, 1 on each side. Okay, our next step is to attach the propane hook, which looks like this. This is going to go right through the propane deflector plate and go through the bottom in the hole in the slot, and then bolt down to the grill body. Slide it in and attach it like that. For our next step, we're going to assemble the other side of the legs. So we've got our front left leg as well as our back left leg, as well as the bottom leg brace and 2 casters for the bottom. So let's go ahead and put those together. So we're going to do the same thing that we did for the other side. We're going to slide our bracket into the legs and make sure that the holes line up on the inside as they do on the outside, and making sure that the orientation is all of the same. And then we'll go ahead and put our casters on the bottom, and it'll hold everything together. Now that we have our other leg brackets put together, we're going to go ahead and assemble it onto the chassis of the grill. So let's go ahead and do that, get it lined up. And then just like the other side, you'll want to use the bolts and the corresponding lock washers to make sure that this gets tightened down. Now that we have our other leg bracket on, let's go ahead and put in the middle brace on the same leg bracket. It's going to go right down here in the middle of the legs. So we're just going to drop this in. And then there's 2 bolts for this one on each side. For our next step, we're going to put on the back braces of the grill. You're going to identify these ones by, they're a little bit longer. One has a nutsert, which is right in the middle, and then this one just has a hole cut out right in the middle as well. So these 2 are going to crisscross on the back side of the grill. We'll show you how to put those on right now. You're going to want to line up and just double check that it goes from bottom right to top left as far as these go. And once you identify that that's a proper fitment, I'm just going to take a couple of our bolts and just start them loosely. You're going to want to keep these loose until you kind of get everything put together. So I'll put this one together right down here, get that lined up. Okay, so now the nutsert one is on. Now we're going to want to take the one with just a hole in it and do the same thing. So we're going to identify, okay, that looks good, fitment's great. It lines up in the middle as well. So let's go ahead. We're going to start right here in the top right. Get that started, that way it just kind of holds it in place. Come over here to the middle. Start this one loosely as well. And like I said before, just keep these loose, that way you can have a little bit of play in it, and that will make it a lot easier to put this together. So now that I've got all of these loose, all of the fitment looks good, everything started, I'm just going to take my screwdriver, go back through, and tighten these all the way down. Our next step, we're going to take this bracket, which is going to go across the middle of the front, and 1 magnet, and we're going to attach the magnet to the bracket. Okay, attach our screws. It's going to be important to make sure that the magnet strips are pointed towards the rolled edge right here. That way it will catch and magnetize your door. Okay, now for our next step, since we already have the magnet on this bracket, we're going to grab our front door as well, and we're going to put these together on the front of the grill. So walking up here, you're going to notice, set that down, on the front door itself, it'll have these 2 bars. These are going to correlate with the 2 holes. There's one down here on the grill body, and then there's also one right here on your bracket. So what we're going to do is logo down, since we're upside down. So when putting your door on, you're going to slide that top pin into that corresponding bracket, and then we're just going to turn it, and then it'll latch right onto our original magnet that we had in that we first assembled. So now that our door is set in place, we're going to go ahead and take this bottom bracket and match it back up to the grill. So we're going to take our magnet strip, point it towards this side of the grill, We're gonna set that on there, set it right on top, and then you'll start to see where the holes line up in the grill body here and on the other side. So let's go ahead and grab our bolts for that. One thing I will mention is you will want to make sure that this peg and the top peg of the door slide all the way down into the framework itself. That way you make sure you get proper alignment. So let's go ahead and put our bolts in. Our next step is we're going to attach the bottom brackets to the legs. These are going to go on the front of the grill and on the back of the grill. You'll be able to see the holes that match up right here on the inside of the leg brackets, and they will go in just like this on this side. So you'll want to match up the notch and then put the 2 screws in front and back. And so we'll show you how to screw those together right now. Now that we've got all of our legs put together, all of our bracings on, all of the brackets are on, all of our wheels are on, now it's time for us to flip the grill over and start rolling on the next steps. So with the help of a friend, flip this guy over onto the 4 wheels. For our next step, you're going to need your burners. They're going to be zip tied together. There should be 4 of them, as well as the burner plate on the inside. This will be stainless steel. It'll look like this, and we'll assemble those into the grill. So when we go to install the burners, you're going to look inside this little hole on the faceplate, and you're going to notice the flamethrower valve here. That's what's going to light your burner, and then to the right of it is going to be your orifice, or where the gas comes out. Then as we're assembling these, you're going to notice that on the burner itself, the tube, there's going to be the holes going along the edges. That end, there's going to be a side with holes and a side without holes. The side with holes, you're going to want pointing down. So as you assemble this, you're going to go in, put it on the valve, and then make sure that those holes are not facing up and instead facing down. Then as you're putting these together, making sure those holes are down, you'll notice that on the far side of the chassis, there's going to be these cutouts. That's where your flange of your burner is going to sit. And so you want them to all line up into those slots. There we go. So now once we have those in, we're going to take our burner plate here. This is actually going to hold the burners down. You're going to want these holes on the top side facing up, and just put those right over the top. And then grab your 3 bolts and bolt that down. Let's go ahead and just tighten down those 3 bolts, and that will secure your burners into place. For our next step, we're going to install the grease chute into the grill body, as well as our knobs. We'll start with the grease chute. As you'll notice on the back side, it'll have this little bracket. That's going to go on the inside right in here. And it's going to line up, it's going to go in the hole, and then just snap right into place. Okay, then with your knobs, you'll notice that on the inside of the knob, there's a half moon and then there's a flat. On the valve, there's also the same. So you just want to make sure you get those lined up just right, and then give it a good little push and snap it right into place. And then you're going to want to do that on all 4 knobs. For our next step, we're going to install the griddle leveling screws. There's 2 of them. They go right back here on the back side of the grill. This is what you're going to use to level your griddle while it's hot if you need to. So we're going to screw those in on both sides. And then you can just screw those into place. Now that we have our grease chute into place, our knobs are on, and the griddle levelers are in the backside, have a friend help you and put the griddle onto the grill itself. Now when assembling the griddle, you are going to want to match up the grease chute with the griddle itself, and just make sure that that lines up correctly and everything looks good there. Awesome. Thanks, Mike. So the next step will be to grab the Allen key that comes with your grill. What I like to do at this step is to, if you have one, grab a bubble level. You can put it right here on the grill and kind of see which way it's already sloping. And then take your Allen key, take these, and now you can adjust your griddle a little bit up if you need to. I like to adjust it to where the griddle is just sloping a little bit forward to the grease trough. That way when you're cooking, you don't have to worry about it later. And that way you don't have to worry about it again, and all your grease will run to the front into the grease drain. So you can do that on both sides. You know, you can level it left or right as well as just a little bit more up here. And what's really cool about this feature, once you finally have it all leveled, is if you do forget this step, or say you roll it out of your garage or it's on your patio and you've moved it and you forget to re-level it before you start cooking, you can now do this with this tool, with this system, and you can do it while it's hot, so you don't have to worry about trying to manage all of that grease and all of those fluids even while it's hot. So for our next step, we're going to assemble all of the lid pieces. So that includes your lid handle as well as the 4 hinge brackets that go on the back side of the lid. So we'll start with the lid handle onto the front. This will take the 4 bigger shoulder bolts that are in your included hardware bag, and that will go from the inside to the outside. So we'll screw that on really quick. So taking your 4 shoulder bolts, we're going to feed one through, get it matched up, and I'll usually keep these fairly loose until they're all screwed in, and then I'll come back later and tighten them down. So we'll get this one side started, and then we'll come over to this off side and do the same thing. So now that I've got all those started, I can come back around with my screwdriver and tighten them down. And then just snug those down pretty good. You don't want your handle coming loose on you. And now we can move on to the hinge brackets. So when you're putting your hinge brackets on the griddle lid, you'll notice there's a small hole and a big hole. You're gonna want the small hole side to go to your griddle lid. So you're gonna take one of your little shoulder bolts, feed it through, and then put a washer on. Then you're going to want the small hole for this step, and you're going to want to make sure that the bend in the bracket goes against the washer in the side wall of the griddle lid. So put that one on like that, and then you're going to want to put another washer and then put your lock nut. So once again, go through this on the same side. Each side gets 2 brackets, shoulder bolt, and then a washer, and then small hole, not the large hole. Make sure it sits flat up against that with the angle, and then another washer, and then your lock nut. And then just repeat this step for the other side. Then you're gonna wanna tighten these guys down. We got a crescent wrench. We're gonna put that right on that nut, and then tighten this guy down. Now that we have the brackets on the inside of our griddle lid, we're going to attach the lid to the griddle itself. So you'll notice that on the big hole side, these brackets that are onto the lid, these are actually going to go on the outside of the griddle flange, not on the inside. So we're going to lift this up and just kind of sand it up there, get it pretty close, and then you can start to adjust your brackets down to where they start to line up. When I'm putting this on, it's usually a lot easier with 2 people, but I usually will take this bottom bracket, it'll go towards this back hole, and just get 1 bolt started, get it into the griddle, and then reach in, put your washer on, and then put your bolt on. And then I'll do that same thing just over here on the other side. You can come over, get your hole to line up, put the bolt in, and then washer, and then lock nut. Just like that. Then once you have those back 2, you can get it to where the front ones will line up, and the lid will start to support itself just like so. Put that washer on, put the nut on, and then just do the other side. Perfect. Then bolt, washer, and then lock down. Then once you have all 4 of those on, you can go ahead and tighten them up. So the next step for our assembly process is going to be the shelves. Now there's 4 brackets for these, 2 for each side. Now what you're going to want to make sure is when you do this, that you get 1 of each. The flange is going to want to point towards the middle of the body. You don't want to get 2 of the same side like this. You want to make sure you have 1 of each. So right here on the side, just like I said, let's grab our bolts really quick. So, shelf bracket, flange to the inside, and those will bolt on right there. And so, like I mentioned before, you're going to want the flange of the bracket pointed towards the inside of the grill, and then you can repeat this process for both sides. Okay, for the next step on this is we're going to attach our shelves. Now the shelves will have 2 notches here on the inside. Each one correlates to a peg right here. So this bottom notch you're going to want to put on the bottom peg in the brackets that we just mounted. So you just line these up and drop it in, and then you can rotate it and push down, and they'll lock into place. And so you can do that for both sides. Next step is we're going to attach our handle to our grease bucket, and it'll just line up with these 2 nutsers right here, and you'll just screw those 2 together. For our final steps, you're going to put your aluminum foil liner into the grease bucket, come in here, open up the door, swing it out of the way, and then just slide it along the grooves right into place. And then for our final step is take the Allen wrench that came with your grill that adjusts the griddle up and down, goes right inside this door on these 2 brackets. You just slide it right inside of here, and then close your door. Awesome, that's it on the assembly. Now you're ready to cook. A few awesome features and benefits that we want to talk about really quick, and why we did stuff the certain way we did. First and foremost is the grease trough up the front. That's just going to help you get rid of all of your grease, all of your scraps, everything that you don't want, all the way down into that big grease hole. That way it can just disappear. That way your cleanup's easy, your grease management's easy, and all of that is no hassle, no problem. We also designed it to have all of these magnetic spots. That way you as a consumer, you as a user, you as a cook can customize how you want to set up your grilling experience. You know, we have all of our brand new accessories, you know, the breakfast kits, the burger kits, the essentials kits that come with water bottle holders, paper towel holders, little magnetic hooks for all of your spatulas, all of your utensils. All of that can be customized all the way along each one of these shelves. That way you can customize your cook and your cooking experience. We also went through the benefit of, you know, hiding everything behind this door. That way, you know, you don't have to stare at an ugly grease bucket, or while you're cooking, you have it against the wall. If you're worried about how much grease is in your bucket, you no longer have to, you know, move your grill out from the wall to check on it. But you also have a massive grease bucket, so you don't have to worry about how much your grease bucket can actually hold, because it can now hold a lot. And so that is pretty slick on just how that just slides right into place. And then of course, one last feature that we talked about is the griddle leveling. So with this tool, you can now level your griddle even while it's hot, so you don't have to worry about fighting the grease management anymore. So if you're running into that problem while you're cooking, grab your tool, go to the backside of your griddle, level those leveling screws up, and then you're going, and it's easy, it's simple. And what's awesome is that stores right there behind your faceplate, and it's tucked away. You never have to go looking for a wrench, it's just right here on your griddle. So that's the Gridiron 36 from Camp Chef. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our customer support. And like always, thanks for joining the Camp Chef family.